And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to Capital Cosm Live. Thank you for joining me tonight. It is January 9th. Got a lot to talk about today. The uranium stocks seem to finally be making a move. So we're going to look at the uranium stocks, see if this is actually the real deal or another rug pull. Is that coming down the line? We'll take a look at some of the charts here. We'll take a look at some of this news that we have on the table as well. Before we get started, though, nothing in this video is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor, so please do your own due diligence. And as always, guys, this is a live stream. So this means that there are two different sets of audiences. There's the live audience that's watching right now, this very second. And then we've also got the audience that watches the recorded version. Now, if you are a part of that second audience, the audience that is watching the recorded version, go ahead and fast forward about 5 to maybe 10 minutes max. And we'll go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let people come on in. So I'm going to stall for about 5 to 10 minutes, and we'll get started shortly. So come on in, guys. I'm going to go ahead and post this link here on X, and let some of these guys here come on down and join us. All right, I think we got it. Yep, we got it posted. Perfect. How's my sound, by the way? Coming in crystal clear? Drop me a 1 in the chat if you can hear the sound of my voice. I hope these live streams aren't too late for you guys. I was looking at my YouTube analytics, and most of my followers, there tends not to be much action this time of night, but it's really the only time I have to stream, so it is what it is. I know we've got a lot of people in Australia, the land down under, and the Aussie market is open. So there's that. Okay, we'll let a few more people come in. Can you guys hear the sound of my voice? Give me a 1 in the chat if you can hear the sound of my voice. All right. So we have a lot of news to cover. Nothing in this video is financial advice. Did I already say that? I can't remember. I can't keep track anymore. I have holiday brain. It's been a nice couple of weeks. I haven't really come to terms with going back to focusing and all that good stuff. All right, 4 minutes in. Come on in, guys. We're going to get started shortly. We're going to talk uranium. We might talk a few other things as well. We might look at some commodity stocks. We'll see. We'll see if we have the time. But we got some news to cover. We have some charts to look at. And we're going to see whether this surge in uranium stocks today has any legs to it. So give me a 1 in the chat if you can hear the sound of my voice. I don't see any ones yet, so I think... can you guys hear me? Yes or no? All right, I think we're good. All right, well, let's go ahead and dive in. See what we got here. All right, we're going to kick things off with the uranium spot price. This is UX1 on the charts. And as you can see, clean breakouts throughout. You had resistance here, stemming from Fukushima. Broke through that sumbitch like it was nothing. You had resistance here. That was this was the 2022 highs. We just shattered right through that resistance. We've been shattering through all of these resistance lines and haven't been looking back. This is the weekly candlestick, FYI. So even with an incomplete week, we're 2 days in. We have about 40% of this week's data in. But nonetheless, we've got a bigger green candlestick than we did the day before. The week before. Now, if you look at the Ichimoku clouds, again, you want to be above the cloud. Being above the cloud tells you that the trend is your friend and it's continuing. That means you've got momentum on your side. Let's actually pull up the RSI while we're at it. Actually, I think I need to remove a few things. No. I don't know why it's not letting me pull up the RSI. But anyways, this should be fine enough as it is. You can clearly see we've broken through both of these resistance lines like it was nothing. And look at the distance we have from where we are now to the clouds. I mean, I don't think we've ever had that much distance between the uranium spot price and the Ichimoku clouds. I mean, that is some really good indications of something special is happening in the uranium spot price. Now, I know you guys, you're tired of hearing about spot price going higher and higher with no movement, no traction whatsoever on the mining side, on the equity side. Now you've got uranium spot price at 93.75. That's a number that we haven't seen in God knows how long. Since 07. Late 07. Maybe, I think that's November 07. Something like that. But the question remains, when are the stocks going to move? We got Lenko Bear in the chat. We got Neil Weston in the chat. How's it going, fellas? Thanks for tuning in. You guys always make it here somehow. Thanks for always finding a way in. So yeah, Uranium Moon. Neil wants to know why is uranium going up? The fundamentals on the uranium spot price are just that good. The real question is when is URNM? When is URA? When are the miners going to make their move? Now the miners, as you can see here, this is a weekly candlestick. Let's go ahead and move on over to the daily candlestick. All right, so let's go ahead and hide the Ichimoku cloud. And yeah, we had a very strong finish for today. Look at this big fat green candlestick. Look at this. We are right back up at support, resting at support. Now this is a support line that we've been able to draw going back to the 2021 highs. And it's a very strong support line. Number one being that we've hit it multiple times and failed to break out of it. So when we do break out of it, it's going to be a thing of beauty. I also want to point your attention to, we've had 4 green candlesticks, 4 consecutive green candlesticks. And we haven't had a green candlestick this strong since, I want to say, what is this, November 30th. So, in over a month. And as you can also tell here, we've been grinding up on higher from this support line, right? But then what's interesting is that today we not only fell below this support line, so we tested the support line. So we essentially started below the support line. And we retested the support line. But we retested and we failed the retest on behalf of the downtrend down. We actually failed this. So here's the reason why you fail a retest meaning that your breakout, whether it be to the upside or the downside, did not succeed. Now, if you look at what happened today, we opened up below this support line and we retested it and we surged on higher. And we finished off the day resting on resistance. Now, the question is, what's going to happen? Is this it? Are we finally going to see a breakout on the miners? Now, I'll also bring your attention to the following. This support line and this resistance line are squeezing together. You can tell something has to happen. Either we continue to grind up this support line, eventually leading us above this resistance, breaking through this resistance, or we continue tracking this resistance line, grinding sideways, and breaking down below the support line. So let's pull up the Ichimoku clouds. And so earlier today, we were resting right on the cloud. Today, we have momentum on our side. It's getting really close, guys. Really, really close. So I think we'll have our answer by the end of the month. Whether or not we continue grinding sideways or maybe correct down by way of the miners, or we finally break through of this pesky resistance line that we've hit once, twice, thrice. I don't know what the proper term for quadruple ice. I don't know. 4 times, 5, 6, 7 times we've hit this resistance line. So I'm really, I've got my eye on uranium. Uranium is about to do some interesting things. You look at, so uranium for the day, URNM up 4.74%. You thought that was nice? Check out URNJ up 5.45%. URNJ also had a big day. As you can tell here, URNJ was falling behind the Ichimoku cloud, which was bearish, but in a single day, it goes from below the cloud to above the cloud. Meaning, the buyers completely overpower the sellers. Okay? Couple that with the fact that URNJ outperformed URNM today. So let's look at URNJ compared to URNM. And URNJ versus URNM has been underperforming, which is not what you want to see in a bull market. You want to see the lower cap stocks outperform the larger cap stocks. But good news today, and for the last several days, look at these big green candlesticks. This is URNJ outperforming URNM. And today you had another big bounce. We're still below the cloud when it comes to URNJ, price in URNM. So right now, the prognosis is still kind of iffy with the uranium stocks. It's looking, but don't get me wrong, it's looking much better, much better than it did last week. And if you haven't seen my interview with Patrick Kareem, we basically talk about a lot of the heavy lifting that's been done on, let's say, the URNM, URA ETFs. That's primarily from CCJ. That's primarily from next gen. The larger cap stocks are carrying the smaller mining stocks. And it's pretty apparent. I mean, you look at URNJ right here. Or actually, let's go back. URNJ has been underperforming URNM. You look at URNJ compared to, let's call it CCJ. That's going to be even more gruesome. But let's go ahead and pull it up. Look at that. Been grinding down further and further down. We're below the clouds. We're right on the clouds. CCJ has been overperforming the rest of the miners. So what do you think, guys? Give me a 1 in the chat if you think this is it. This is the real deal. Is uranium about to break through and make new, or I shouldn't say uranium. Uranium's already broken through, as we saw on that spot price chart. But are the miners about to break through and make new highs? Give me a 1 if you think that's going to be the case. Give me a 2 if you think it's just going to keep trailing sideways. Give me a 3 if you think that we're going to go down. On a Silver Platter says it is next leg up is for the developers. Yeah, that's the daisy chain, right? That's how the risk curve works. You've got your big producers. First, money flows into the spot price itself, the metal, i.e. uranium. Second, once that's kind of, once money kind of like starts flowing through there, then you get the producers getting access to capital. After that, it's the developers. After that, it's the explorers. So it's really important. And not all of these developers, not all of these explorers for sure are going to reap the benefits. You're going to get more beta if you strike it correctly with some of these developers and explorers. But it's not as guaranteed as it is with, say, buying SPUT. Let's say buying CCJ, etc. That's why stock selection is important and why we're affiliated with Justin Hume's Uranium Insider. If you haven't checked his newsletter out, link to that is in the description below. You get access to all of his stock picks. He has an entire team that does nothing but research the uranium space. If you're interested in getting a leg up and picking the right stocks, be sure to check out his newsletter. It's like hiring your own research team to do the research for you. You're the CEO of your portfolio, but you've got to have an R&D team. You've got to have a research team. That's where Justin Hume's Uranium Insider comes in. So highly recommend you check him out. Check out the link down below. We are affiliates, so there's that. But nonetheless, you get top uranium analysis. But with that said, let's go ahead and continue the video. And yeah, guys, I mean, you look at this thing. This is Cameco. Cameco has been way soaring above the clouds for quite some time now. It's making its way down. But Cameco, let's actually pull this thing up all the way back. Let's look at this thing from a long-term perspective. And look at Cameco. Look at this bad boy Cameco. Almost right back up at all-time highs. Right back at where it was at the peak of the last uranium bull market in 2007. So that's how it works. Capital has been flowing in to these producers because you remember the chart we always look at. And that is institutional money flowing into these ETFs. When institutions invest, they're not going to invest in, your sub $500 million, $300 million, $200 million market cap companies. They're going to need a vehicle that's liquid enough. So that leaves them with very few options. They can either invest in, let's say, URA, URNM, CCJ, next gen to a much lesser degree. But it's really these bigger cap stocks that reap all the rewards initially. And you can kind of also see this with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been rallying up lately. And Bitcoin has these 4-year rallies, right? You've got the halvings. Essentially, it requires twice as much energy to mine a unit of Bitcoin than it did before the halving. But what will happen with these Bitcoin or these crypto rallies is that you'll first have the Bitcoin surge. Bitcoin will begin to surge first. And then a few months later is when you'll start to see the likes of Ethereum, these lesser coins. And then beyond that, you start to see some of the capital start to flow into some of the shit coins. So it's a similar process here with what we see here with uranium. And so CCJ, has been making this ascending wedge pattern. This is not bullish for CCJ. The closer we get to the top here, the more likely it is to come down and correct. But we have been seeing the junior miners begin to make some moves. Darren says most of the weak hands are gone now from uranium. Yeah. Now, think of it this way. When we were at levels, I'm going to pull back to URNM, okay? Now, we're at the same level today in 2024 as we were in 2021. Now, any uranium investors from 2021? I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I'm sure there's plenty of you guys. But for those of you who were invested in uranium in 2021, just remember the mania. How much mania did we have in the uranium space? It was insane. Compared to today, completely insane. Well, now guess what? Today, we have some excitement, but not really. Not to the same extent that we had in that summer of 2021. It was insane. It was bonkers. It was crazy. But today, we have the same... Let's see here. Here it is. I'm going to do it. Look at that. Look at that institutional ownership. We're at the same price as we were. This is URA, FYI. This is URA. The green bars, if you haven't seen this chart, the green bars represent institutional ownership of uranium, of URA, sorry. The black line demonstrates the price. Now, what you'll notice is that we're essentially at the same price, but with far more institutional ownership today versus back then. So that's really telling you that mania that we saw in 2021. Obviously that was all retail. That price spike that we saw in 2021, that was all retail. This price spike, this has been lifted on the shoulders of institutional capital. So retail has essentially sold off. All those people, for the most part, aside from the diehards, have sold off their shares over the last 2 years. Now, we're sitting right at resistance. Once we break it, or it could be happening now, we're going to slowly attract those people's attention again. Because now they remember the highs uranium made 2 years ago. They want to relive it. They have memory of it. Not only that, you also have people who may not have been around 2 years ago to experience it. And they're going to find out about the thesis, how exciting the thesis is, and they're going to dump capital in. So I think something's about to happen. I mean, look at this thing. This is the monthly candlestick. I think this is a shit or get off the pot moment for the miners. And I think they will. I think they're going to take a huge dump in a good way. They're going to move up. They're going to break through this ceiling here. And, we're heading into an election year. They're going to pump these markets with liquidity. Barring some black swan. I don't know. Lots of people are talking about, there's going to be some big black swan event, i.e., C19, etc. Who knows what it is? I don't know. I'm not going to bet I'm not going to bet on a potential black swan. You've got to work with the cards that you have. You've got to work with the future that you know. And if anything happens, then you just got to pivot. You can't live your life being paralyzed. Yeah, so seems like you guys think a breakout's coming. Calvin thinks a breakout's coming. Darren thinks a breakout's coming. Darren says a massive breakout by Bannerman today. Really? I haven't checked my stocks. Let's see here. I haven't checked my stocks today. Wow, see, when you're on a YouTube channel, when you're trying to build like a brand, I'm going to take you behind the curtains. You end up actually checking like these broad stroke analysis. You start to think about how you can add value to other people versus how you're actually doing yourself. So, I mainly just look at these ETFs. I mainly just look at like these spot prices. I don't look at individual companies because that's too granular. Of course, I have my own portfolio of individual companies, but once you're deadlocked into content creation of this kind, you tend to, I don't know, at least that's how I am. I don't know how, like, if any of these other content creators feel the same, but that's how I feel. I've become more focused on, making sure I get this right for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and pivot over to, let's go ahead and read some news here. Uranium starting to make the news. This is from Zero Hedge. And it says, analysts see uranium's third bull market through 2024. So the news is starting to pick up on the price action. And so this is what you'd call the media attention phase. Essentially, you've got this curve of when money or adoption comes into play. I'll try and find this graph in a second. But you've got this curve where speculators come in. They see a distressed asset. No one likes it. Everyone hates it, wants nothing to do with it, doesn't even want to look at it. Speculators are willing to put some capital in to that asset. After that comes smart money. Rick Roll laughed at the fact that I called it smart money, given the fact that a lot of the people that he worked with would be considered smart money, and his words, not mine. They are not very smart. So, but anyways, institutional money comes in after the speculators come in. And then what you have after that is a media attention phase. Then the media starts to get wind of the price action. They start to pump attention into, this asset. And then after that is when retail comes in and really drives the price higher. Let me see if I can find this chart for you guys. I think a lot of you guys have already seen it, but for those of you who may not have, it's a really good chart to keep in mind. Where is it? So this is the chart that I was referring to. And, this follows the cyclicality of a given asset. First it's down here in the dumps. There's a disbelief phase. This rally will fail like all the others. There's a lot of hatred. The thing doesn't, the asset begins to prove otherwise, begins to start slowly recovering. Then you get into the hope phase. And then once that happens, you start to move up slightly. The optimism phase. There's another one of these charts that I've seen. But anyways, this essentially kind of gives you an idea. The optimism phase. After that, the belief phase, time to get fully invested. Then there's euphoria, etc. That's basic market psychology 101. Anyway, let's go ahead and dig into this article here. That's enough stalling on my end. So it says here, so far, spot prices for yellow cake reached a new 16-year high, climbing up to $92.45 a pound, reflecting on our December 2020 note. Buy uranium. It is the beginning of the next ESG craze. Yellow cake prices have risen 217%. That's a 3x since 2020. Uranium market is only getting hotter, and continued tightness could push prices over $100. Analysts from Bank of America and Berenberg Bank wrote. So they think it can get up to $100. Wow. Do you guys think it's going to get up to $100? A whole $100? I think it's going to go way more than $100. But anyways, B of A metals and mining team said tightness in uranium markets could extend well into 2025, indicating that prices could run higher through this year. The team of analysts has increased their uranium spot price targets to $105 a pound in 2024 and $115 a pound in 2025. Honestly, guys, I think that's a little bit of a low ball answer. Drop me a 1 in the chat. Actually, you know what? How about this? I'll do you one better. Where do you think the uranium spot price will be by the end of 2024? Give me a number in the chat. Drop me a number in the chat. What do you think? Anyways, continuing. They outline, I'll let you guys go ahead and answer that while I continue reading. They outline 3 near-term catalysts that could propel prices higher. Higher electricity prices make uranium prices more absorbable. Wait, hold on. Let me reread that. They outline 3 near-term catalysts that could propel prices higher. Okay. So the first reason, higher electricity prices make higher uranium prices more absorbable. Yeah, so if electricity prices are going to go up, it's an easier sell for higher uranium prices. Number 2, investment fund volumes continue to increase. That's exactly what we looked at. They have been increasing, and so they're saying that they're going to keep increasing. And keep in mind, the funds have essentially doubled the URA ETF, right? You're sitting at a share price of, 19? You're now at 30? All the way down here. So hedge funds have essentially doubled this thing all by themselves, for the most part. Number 3, inventories are lower than previously thought, while production slippages also remain a risk. So they're saying production, it's one thing to say, oh, we have all this uranium underground. It's another thing to actually get the permits to, for the mine. Actually, number 1, discover it. Number 2, get the permits to develop a mine, get the permits to, before that, even to explore it. It's a long and arduous process. It's not something you can just do at the flip of a switch. And inventory, and they're saying inventories are lower than previously thought. So they don't believe that China has all of this uranium hidden away somewhere, ready to dump onto the market. And so they've got their forecast here. You've got it says spot uranium is currently trading at $92, with the market expected to remain in deficit until year-end 2024. And so their forecast, B of A, it's the blue line here. They've got their forecast at around 100, just a little under $120. The consensus out there is $80. That doesn't make any sense. We're already past $80. I'm not quite sure what they mean by this consensus, US per pound. But B of A, Bank of America, they're calling for just a little under $120 uranium by 2025, or just about. Analysts pointed out uranium's third bull market sets up for a promising 2024. All right, there you go. And on a separate note, Berenberg analysts said that the requirement for some uranium users to diversify away from Russian supply could be a major price driver. They said prices will likely normalize around $70 per pound for the long term. Now, be that as it may, $70 a pound. I'm not quite sure where they're getting that from, because the supply and demand charts that I've seen show a continually increasing deficit as you move further out into time. So that's $70 a pound seems kind of weird. But nonetheless, even if that is the case, we're going to spike much higher than $70. We've already gone much higher than $70 a pound. But we're gonna see a spike nonetheless. We might have a correction that brings us down to somewhere more tempered, but until then, it's all about riding the wave of capital flow that's soon to come in. We've already seen institutional buying coming in. It hasn't let up. It keeps getting higher and higher. We keep seeing more funds buying uranium, buying the URA stock, buying URNM, buying CCJ. Retail has no presence in this thing, or at least compared to what it was in 2021. So you've got a huge gap to fill in retail that can just easily come and bid this price up even more. So I think we've got a few more sentences here. Okay, let's finish up this article. Soaring prices have buoyed stocks of mining companies like Chemical up nearly 300% since December of 2020. That's a 4x. URNM is also up almost 300%, and UEC is up 416%. So they've got the charts here. You've got URNM here in blue. You've got, I want to say UEC here in orange. And you've got CCJ here in yellow. Now what you'll notice is there's really no material difference between the URNM performance and the CCJ performance. We've pretty much tracked one another. Not all the time, but we've kind of met at this moment. Which is telling me that I think we're getting really close to some of that capital flowing into the mid and smaller cap companies. Because you're starting to see the large cap companies, i.e. Cameco, beginning to slow down a bit. According to uranium market data firm UXC, uranium demand is surging as contracts signed by utilities reached 160 million pounds last year, the highest annual volume since 2012. And then a quote here from Jonathan Hinz. He's the president of UXC. He said the uranium market's only getting tighter. And so, blah, 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 13 years after Fukushima disaster. So there you go. It's a bullish article, but I think they're being a little too cautionary with their predictions. What do you guys think? Yeah, so, I mean, you guys feel the same way. On a Silver Platter says $150 uranium by end of 2024. Darren says 150 plus. Neil Weston says $88. Darren also says we could hit $500. Lane Colbert says $250. So let's go ahead and look back at this chart here. So we've got, let's actually pull up CCJ really quick because they mentioned it in the article, and let's look at it compared to the M2 money supply. And what you'll notice is when you control for M2 money supply, index this. All right, so this is back on a nominal linear scale. We're off of the log scale. Sorry, I forgot to mention that we were on a log scale throughout the entire video, but that's what we were. So indexed against M2, against money supply, you're looking at 90. Doesn't mean $90, just means this is the index, 90. Now at the top of 07, you're sitting at 328. So to get back to those 07 highs, 07 valuations, you would need more than a tripling in the CCJ stock. As high as it's risen in recent days, it's still nothing compared to where it was almost 2 decades ago, controlled for money supply. So I think we've got I think we're going to have a breakout on our hands. I want to say, if you look back at the Uranium chart, and let's look at this on 1 year. So this thing basically converges towards the end of the month. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say something's going to happen by no later than end of January, early February. Either uranium breaks down or breaks up. And just something really special. So that's my take. All right, guys. Well, that's all I got for you today. Again, as always, if you enjoyed this content, like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below. Let me know what your uranium spot price predictions are. I've got Brian here. That's Brian coming in late today. Conservatively, he says $180. He wouldn't be surprised with $400 to $500. This is from Brian, not super chat, but in the chat. As we really do not have a clue of the magnitude of the supply shortage, we know the shortage is there, but definitely not now how much of an impact. Yeah, that's true. I mean, all the best we can do is speculate. It's a very opaque market, a lot of unknowns. The only question is how high will it go? Really, try to imagine it this way. Imagine being like one of these guys that sells off your uranium stuff. I'm not saying this is the wrong thing to do, by the way. It could actually be the right thing. But let's just hypothetically say, you're one of these guys, uranium spikes to $150, $160, $170. Hurrah, we make new all-time highs, right? We break through that $150 ceiling, and then you sell. But the price keeps climbing up. Goes to 200, goes to 250, goes to 300, could even go to $500. So I believe that there's more of a risk of not being in this thing than being in it. Honestly, that's just my assessment. I could be wrong. Darren says, how high? High AF. Higher than people think, exactly. So you've really got to ask yourself, are you going to feel worse if you bag hold this thing? It rockets up, you don't sell, then it comes crashing back down? Or are you going to feel worse if you sell too early and then you could have missed out on another doubling, tripling, quadrupling, I don't know, whatever. Let me ask you, actually, before we end the video, let me ask you guys a question. Would you feel worse give me a 1, if you'd feel worse if you ended up bag holding these uranium stocks, i.e. the price spikes up to, let's say, $200, but then you hold in anticipation for, let's say, something higher, maybe 300, 400, 500. Or give me a 2 if you'd feel worse if you sold off early at, let's say, $150 uranium, or maybe 120, but then the price spikes all the way up to $500 and you miss out on like 5x more gains. Give me a 1 for the first option, give me a 2 for the option I just went through. It really is challenging. You know, a lot of people say, got to cost average in and cost average out. That's one way to do it as well. Yeah, I'm just going to be keep it 100 with you guys. I leverage a lot of newsletters for my assessments. That might not be a bad idea. Get as many expert opinions, and then weigh your make your decision then. It's really tricky. All right, guys. Well, that's all I got for you today. If you want to support the channel, go ahead and buy me a coffee down below. Link is down below. If you want to subscribe to Justin Hune's newsletter, Uranium Insider, he is an affiliate, or I am an affiliate with his service. If you are going to subscribe, be sure to hit the link in the description box down below. You've got to make sure you pick the right stocks. And he's probably going to spend more time researching this stuff than you are. Maybe 1% of you guys might be the exception, but the vast majority of you guys probably don't have the same time that he dedicates to this stuff. So, all right, guys. It's good chatting. We'll see if we do one of these again tomorrow. If we see another big move, we might do one of these tomorrow. I want to actually cover Bitcoin tomorrow. We're supposed to get this ETF approval sometime tomorrow. So we'll see what that does to the Bitcoin price. In my opinion is it's going to be a sell the news event. But 2024, 2025 is looking like it's going to be a big year for Bitcoin. I have some interesting price projections that I want to walk you through, guys, for Bitcoin. I'm not like a big Bitcoin fanatic or anything like that. But there is an opportunity with Bitcoin at the moment. I see really strong opportunity, as well in the crypto space in general. So I might cover that tomorrow if I have the time, or if nothing happens in the uranium. If something happens in the uranium space, we'll cover that priority. But if nothing happens, it's another run-of-the-mill day. We'll probably look at Bitcoin tomorrow. Hey, Brian, no problem, man. He says, thank you. Always a pleasure. Thank you for having your channel. It's much appreciated. Yeah, man. I enjoy what I do. All right, y'all. I think that's it for tonight. Go ahead and get some sleep. For my Aussie audience, have a great day. I'll see you guys tomorrow if we do another recording.